Hi guys, welcome to Love and Lust audiobooks channel, updated daily with great audiobooks. So please subscribe to me if you don't want to miss it. Well, let's go to read this book. The Lush Experience, Part 1, Chapter 1 to 5. Chapter 1, a very special birthday. After finally saving the file for my last chapter, I closed my laptop and took a deep breath. I was tired and wanted to go to sleep, but I'd never hear the end of it. If I ditched the birthday party my friends were throwing for me, the fact that they wanted to throw me a surprise party but failed to keep it a surprise was just another reason to love them and to not spoil said surprise by not making it to said party. I put my jacket on and practically shoved my things into my bag, waving goodbye to Gilbert the librarian as I finally left my kingdom of Word. I loved Gilbert. He'd been here at the library since before I even moved to the city and was always a brilliant source of information for my book. He knew where to find everything and anything, but most importantly, he never asked personal questions. It was nice, especially since sometimes those questions were as innocent as what was typical British food? Yeah, to how fast does it take a body to decompose? He never assumed that I was up to anything sketchy, though I was unsure if he knew it was because I was a writer, or he just could not be bothered to worry about a possible murderer in the library.
Wait.
Food for thought. Later, though, I was halfway to my car when my phone started playing dramatic funeral music, and I answered the call. Hello, Andrea, I greeted smugly. And Anais, what am I going to do with you? My publicist, Andre, sighed heavily as I pulled out my keys and got into my car. You were in the library. Again, weren't you? Well, you do pay me to produce good books, don't you? Yeah, I smirked, and I could almost see him rolling his eye. You also need a life. Need to remind you that today is your birthday. You get one free beep tomorrow. I'll torture you with deadline. I hated that word, but he's so right. I was supposed to deliver a new book to him last month, and yet I kept stalling on the project. I had so many stories to share, but for whatever reason, this one just couldn't reach its conclusion. I am heading home now. The girls are waiting for me for a nice celebration. I twisted my keys in the ignition, and moments later, my area was pulling out of the library parking lot as I headed back home to get ready for the night. Then I'll let you go, have fun, and send me some pictures. Okay. He didn't wait for me to reply and ended the call, which was rather typical for Andre. We definitely had a strange relationship. Sometimes he would be super friendly, and sometimes he would draw a line between us and cut our interactions down to the bare minimum. I guess I never allowed him to get close either, but he understood that for someone as weird as me, it was better and safer to keep it that way. I looked at my phone to check what time it was. It was just a brief glance, but then I felt my body being jerked forward and backward. I was pulled by the belt, and the metal crunching and tires squeaking resounded in my ears. It took me a bit to acknowledge and realize I had just hit a car. Someone knocked on my door, but I didn't react, still staring at the vehicle in front of me. My ears were ringing, but the knocking got stronger, enough for me to feel it, and I shakily turned my head. At the sight of who was knocking, I knew I probably hit my head because standing there, knocking on my car door, was Rob, my ex-boyfriend. Did I just rear-end his car? Out of all the people on this street in this city, I crashed into Rob. He waved a hand at me. Rob continued staring at me worriedly before waving again, snapping me out of it. This was no hallucination or dream. I really did just hit his car, his very fancy, probably expensive car.
Wow.
And we didn't exactly break up on good terms. I hurriedly pressed the button, my window rolling down automatically. Rob, I asked, my voice trembling, for fuck's sake, and you gave me the scare of a lifetime. I can't believe you just hit me. What were you thinking? Yeah. You Anna, you okay? I knew he was talking to me, but his words weren't registering like they should, friend. My hands were shaking and I couldn't true function. Suddenly, my door was pulled open and Rob was crouching down next to me, taking my hands in his. I hadn't replied to his question. I knew it was rude, but I couldn't hear her speak. My tongue was heavy in my mouth, and the words wouldn't come out. What was wrong with me? Perhaps I really did hit my head during the chaos. And it's okay, don't you worry. It was just a scare. Rob's voice started to reach me, and I realized I was zoned out again. I needed to get a grip on myself. Miss, we need to check on you, please. I heard someone say, drawing my attention. I realized there was a paramedic standing next to Rob. Did I faint and lose track of time? I'll let the doc here examine you, okay, babe? Why was he talking to me like that? Our breakup was messy, and it was God. It was years since I last saw him. So why was he treating me so kindly now? I must have looked like a mess, and honestly, I felt like it too. The paramedic unbuckled my seatbelt and checked my vitals. I knew that physically, I was all right. I mean, I was alive and nothing felt broken, but it was still a terrifying experience. This was the first time I'd ever been in a car accident in my entire life. But my mother had died in one. Maybe that's why I was reacting this way. Why I was still shaking and practically on the verge of tears. Well, your vitals are stable, Miss Crawford, even if your heart beats a little fast. Can you look here for me? The paramedic asked. He held up a little pen light and shined it in my eyes, making me wink. It doesn't seem like you have a concussion that's good now. Can you turn your head for me? Slowly. Don, force it. I carefully turned my head to the side, following his finger. But as I turned my head to the right, I yelped, hissing at the sudden painful pull of my muscle. Ms. Crawford, can you describe what you felt? Yeah, he asked. It hurt, I replied wearily.
Yeah.
Like my muscles were pulling. That's called the whiplash effect, and it's due to the sudden movement of when the car crashes, and your seatbelt prevents you from being expelled from the car. He gently pressed his fingers on the tense spot, and I winced once more. Then he removed them. It doesn't tell as if it's anything more than just some pulled muscles, though. Are you able to stand? It was only then that I realized the paramedic was a middle-aged man. He was looking at me worriedly, and his voice was kind. It helped a bit, and I nodded, stepping out of my car and taking his offered hand. I didn't feel like I was going to faint, but I let the paramedic do his job. And he continued with his test. Do you feel dizzy, nauseous? No, I am fine. Just shake it. He nodded. Yeah, that's good. Can you take another look around for me? I turned my head, taking a look at the chaos I inadvertently caused. There was an ambulance and 2 police cars helping block out the crash site, forcing traffic to go around us. Rob was leaning against his fancy-looking Ferrari, staring at me. As I turned my attention back to the paramedic, I saw not as bad as the first time there, saw just a bit of pain. I noted. Great. Paramedic smiled. You were doing great. Lucky no one was injured too badly during the crash. Do you feel the need to go to the hospital? No, I answered. I am all right. If I am not injured too badly, then I'd like to just head home, if that's all right. You are all clear, Anais Crawford, he replied, but please head to the hospital. If you feel any changes in your health, or if any of your symptoms get worse. I thanked the paramedic as he leaned down and picked up his supply bag before making his way back to the ambulance. As soon as I was no longer being checked for injuries, the police swooped in without hesitation. A policewoman quickly approached me, practically appearing out of nowhere. Miss, we need to take your statement for... Wait, officer. I looked at Rob as he quickly walked over to us. The policewoman obviously recognized him since she practically had stars in her eyes when he looked at her. I am not pressing charges. Don't you worry. She stumped someone I know, so I know this was just an accident. We'll exchange insurance information and take care of everything. All right, he smiled, making the officer practically swoon. Of course, sir, thank you. You are very lucky, miss, she said, the words having an almost dreamy quality to them. I wanted to roll my eyes at the whole situation, but refrained. I couldn't lie. I was relieved in some capacity. It was Rob I crashed into and not a stranger. My birthday had already gone all sorts of wrong, and I'd rather not add legal charges on top of it. Now that no one was getting arrested and we were cleared by the medics, the police were quick to leave. Even our cars weren't as badly damaged as I thought they were. We were lucky, so damn lucky, and I couldn't help but shakily sigh in relief. Still, the situation wasn't over quite yet. I squared my shoulders, finally meeting Rob Sale's gaze. He stood in front of me with a boyish grin that almost made me grimace. I knew he was about to say something that would make me want to slap him. He always knew how to get under my skin. For a moment there, I thought you had passed out with how you were acting. I am glad you're okay though, and I never expected to see you again, especially like this. He paused and then winked it. Must be fate, huh? Okay, that wasn't exactly what I was expecting to hear. The words were softer and warmer than I thought they'd be. It was refreshing and good to hear that we were moving on from our past. Still, he was right. I did expect to see him again, but fate or not, I would really like to end this conversation and just move on with my day, leaving us in the past where we belong. I didn't plan this, if that is what you were trying to get at, I noted firmly, my head still slightly pounding. He chuckled and nodded. Oh, I know. I really am happy to see you though. Sorry for the scare. I frowned at his words. Why are you apologizing for my mistake? I am the one who should say sorry. At that he smirked. Yeah, well then, apology accepted. I sighed. Did he seriously just do that? Oh. Who was I kidding? This was Rob, of course he did. He could never be serious about anything for more than a few minutes. Thank you for not pressing charges, I continued, ignoring his gesture here. This is a copy of my insurance company. I'll call them tomorrow so they'll know to expect a call. Do you need anything else? I actually need to get going. I am running late. It was a bit rude of me trying to escape the conversation so quickly, and I knew Rob might not like it. But there was nothing else for us to talk about if he wasn't going to press charges. I could see his smile twitch as he tried to hide how my words upset him, but he didn't try to say a single thing about what he was feeling despite that. Typical Rob. Just remember that you owe me one. Okay, I'll collect it sometime, maybe for a coffee or something. He noted. A coffee didn't sound that bad, but I knew it wasn't entirely harmless. Either doing anything with him could be dangerous, mostly for myself and my emotions. Honey, can we go now? A woman's voice came from his car, and I peered behind him to see a girl leaning out of the side of his Ferrari to call him. She was gorgeous. I didn't know how I didn't notice her before, but the sight of her was relief. Rob rolled his eyes at being called, however, speaking before I could really ponder why he had such a reaction. I will be there in a minute. Get back in, he stated, and she did, as she was told. Die. Honey? I chuckled, smiling. It seemed like Rob found someone else. I was happy for him, even if I was a little jealous. After our breakup, I hadn't been able to find anything that would count as an actual relationship instead of a quick hookup. And as much as I hated to admit it, it was starting to take its effect on me mentally. Well, Don, let me keep you. I have to head out too. Rob sighed, looking at me almost as if he was in pain, but I didn't understand why. He moved on, right? I mean, an idea like to get a coffee or something with you, catch up and whatnot. I am gonna be around all month. Okay, so just give it some thought. I nodded. Coffee felt a bit less threatening now that I knew he was seeing someone else. Rob gave me a simple, honest smile, much realer than that fake one from before, suited him, and I watched as he turned around and got back into his car, driving away. There was definitely something different with him, and I never expected to agree, but maybe we owed each other that cup of coffee. Maybe. Chapter 2, The Gift. I was about to call the cops. You had us worried, River cried as she opened the door for me. I could see Karina behind her, looking worried. I felt bad for keeping them waiting. I swear that wasn't my intention. I was in a car accident on my way here, and now I need my Lady V to go through the mechanic. I sighed, shaking my head as I walked inside. The internal components were all right, but the outside frame of my 7C says it was a wreck, capital letter. And oh my God, you were involved in what? Yeah, what happened? Vera came rushing out of the kitchen to meet me as she engulfed me into a tight hug. I smiled as I hugged back out of all of us. Vera gave the best hugs, and I felt myself relax, just a little, with some of the stress of what just happened leaving me. Oh, just wait until you hear who I hit with my car, I hinted. A half an hour later, the three of them were laughing at my close encounter with my ex, and I kept shaking my head at them and their fake jokes. It was meant to be. I think you need to go out with him again, Karina smirked. I glared at her. No way you weren't out there when it all went down. It hurt, but I managed to break up with him. He was a reckless man who thought life had no serious decisions or consequences. However, Karina was already wiggling her brows at me. Maybe he was just trying to make you smile, she teased, causing my expression to turn deadpan. No, I noted firmly. He only wanted to party and jump from one gig to the next. I never thought about getting married, but I wanted something more stable than what he could offer, with someone who had at least an idea of what they wanted in life. And look at where he is now, just saying, Vera added, quickly retreating to the kitchen to get more wine. Before I could reply, I sighed and looked down, swirling my own glass. I mean, yes, he is rich and famous, good for him and all that. But I don't need him for those things, I told them, lifting my head and smiling. I've managed to get where I am by myself. Tejada Vera nodded, coming back with another bottle of wine. The important thing is that you were doing well and everything worked out with that little scare, River started. Now, let's just remember that is still your birthday and we are here to celebrate it. She made me smile as she threw her arm around my shoulder. We drank the rest of the night away, laughing, talking, and dancing. There was no better place in the world than with my friends, all together and celebrating. I couldn't be happier. Karina was the first one to leave, and I understood that she had other commitments tomorrow, so I didn't try to stop her as she headed out. She gave me a tight hug before sighing. Oh, Anais, if only you would let someone into your life, you could make someone very happy. I chuckled at her words. Why is it that everyone wants to set me up with someone lately? Maybe we just want you to be happy, she answered. After placing a kiss on her cheek, she smiled one more time and then her driver opened the door for her. Fame did nothing to change her, and that was something very hard to find, no matter how many awards she had or how many fans were after her. She would always sneak out and meet up with us, and she would always be the same humble person she was when we first met. When I got back to the living room, I could see Vera and River whispering something to each other, which made me lift a brow. Well, aren't you too suspicious? What are you both up to? River gave me a mischievous smile, but it was Vera who had a grin that spelled trouble. It is just a gift the three of us got you. I eyed her as she handed me an envelope after I carefully took a seat across from them. It looked innocent enough, but by experience, the most powerful things could come in small packages. The envelope was sealed with a deep blue wax and had an elegant symbol in gold in it. I pulled it open and removed a very unique card as I read it out loud. The Lush House, Anais Crawford, Elite Experience. Then I saw an agent's name and number. It was all very fancy, but I had no idea what this meant, and looked at my friends in confusion. What is this? Vera giggled, and I'm not sure. I liked what it meant for me. This is a dating house, and not just any house. Only famous and high-profile people go to this one. My eyebrows furrowed, and I knew she was aware that this wasn't exactly something I wanted or thought I was getting tonight. What makes you all think that I need to get a date? What if I'm being perfectly happy as I am? River spoke softly as she gave me a small smile. It's just that, though, an experience. Go and take a look at it, try it, then continue with your life. If nothing there works out for you. I sighed and closed my eyes. I knew that saying no to them would cause a lot of questions and constant badgering for me to take the gift. So I nodded along, already regretting it. I want your promise, anything, but I'll call tomorrow. Yes, that's all I wanted to hear. Now I gotta head home. Vera jumped up and picked up her purse, moving like a whirlwind till we were hugging, saying goodbyes and kissing my cheek. Then, before I knew it, she was in her Beetle, already gone. Like a storm, that one, and we loved her for it. In River, didn't he make a move? And I knew she wanted to talk to me a bit more alone. Of course, Vera dropped the bomb or invitation and ran away. Before I could say anything, River opened her purse and pulled out a card similar to mine, and I stared at it. Another one. She nodded. Oh, this was mine. I stared at her, eyes wide, as I joined her on the couch, unable to look away from her. You did it too. She nodded, giving me a soft smile. This is where I met Marcus, and of course neither of us shared the information. Everything at the Lush House is held privately, and he paid extra to keep it that way. That's why I never shared that detail with you and the others. My mind swirled, and I remembered the moment she introduced me to Marcus Moreno, her rich and handsome business mogul boyfriend, who had everything in life served to him, including his girlfriend, it seemed. I understand why he would like to keep it quiet, but I am surprised you would go through that. I noted. She shrugged, that smile never leaving her face. I wanted someone with the same ideals as me, who could take care of himself and was independent enough. Marcus is like that. I also don't have time to waste. I like my privacy and space, and he respects that too. We really are a perfect match. And this Lush House made sure you got that. Yeah, I pressed. I was still puzzled about everything, but the fact that River trusted me with this information made me feel like there was something special about this place. River was almost as picky as I was. She wouldn't have even attempted this if it didn't reach her standard. They have a lot of contracts and rules you have to abide by in order for you to participate. They have different programs too. Luna was my agent as well, so I requested her for you specifically. She'll go through everything with you and clear up all your doubts. Give it a chance. And even if it doesn't work out, at least you can have some fun. She took my hand and squeezed it reassuringly. I sighed and nodded, giving in. She really knew how to sweet talk me into things. I'll call her tomorrow, but just know I feel judged since you all felt the need to team up to set me up on a dating experience. She chuckled. Yeah, the Lush House will prove itself to you, trust me. After she gathered her purse and hid her card back inside it, she got up and smiled at me. Marcus is waiting for me at the front door, so I need to go. Call me after you meet with Luna, okay? Yeah, she told me. All I could do was nod and walk her to the door. Marcus smiled at me and waved, jumping out of the luxury car he drove to congratulate me. Happy birthday, Anais. I hope you spent a good time with the girl. Thanks, Marcus, I replied with a grin and a nod. Yeah, they always make my day. There was a silent exchange between him and River before he looked back at me. You won. To regret taking the Lush Experience, and if you ever have any issues, let me know. I know the owner. I blushed at his words and chuckled nervously. Thank you, Marcus. I'll keep that in mind when I give it a try. He nodded, but didn't he say more, only taking River's sole hand, and they both waved goodbye for the night. As I watched them leave, I felt like my birthday had proven to be packed with excitement in more ways than one. I sighed as I closed the front door and leaned against it. I stared at the envelope in my hands. Well, tomorrow should be fun. Chapter 3. I was sitting in front of my computer and staring at the blank document opened up on it, and all I could think about was the invitation that was burning a hole through my purse. My birthday party was wonderful and so much fun, but now I had responsibilities. Andre had made good on his promise of deadlines, but even with that, I couldn't stop thinking about the Lush house and what River said. She was right. I needed to take a chance and give this place the opportunity to surprise me. I just had to actually make that call. What could go wrong? I mean, yes, there was the possibility that I would find something negative about each of the matches and most likely reject them. But I could get interesting material for my future books as a nice bonus if things did go south. They do say to write what you know, a romance novel, slow burn, friends to lovers, though it might end up as more of a pulp fiction book than a bestseller. But that was all right. It would be fun to write, and doing some hands-on research would give me some nice insight. I'd been stuck on a writer's block for so long that the inspiration felt stronger than usual, or maybe it was procrastination. Either way, I was starting to feel a bit excited. A romance would be fun, even though I probably wouldn't be experiencing any romance myself. The thought made me smile and shake my head. If my friends heard about it, they would hate it and throw a fit. And I guess you were supposed to be meeting hot guys, not writing about fantasy ones or Anais, instead of writing about men. Why don't you go out and get one? Maybe a female lead, then I muttered to myself when my phone buzzed again. It was Vera checking for the lead each time if I had called the Lush house yet. I couldn't help but roll my eyes. Yeah, there was no way I was going to be able to bail on it either way, and I had already given my word, even if someone thought I needed a bit more prompting to do it in a timely manner. No use beating around the bush anymore. It wasn't till like I was having a productive morning anyways. The blank document in front of me was staring me in the face and mocking me, so I spun around in my chair and put the number of the agent into my phone. After the second ring, a woman with a charming and elegant voice answered. "Good afternoon, this is Luna." I hesitated a little. Was I ready? Should I wait a bit longer and give this a bit more thought? "Hello," I answered. I cleared my throat. There was no backing out now, otherwise the second call my friends would make me do would be way too embarrassing. "Hello, Luna. This is Anais Crawford." Miss Crawford. Her voice was now raised 2 octaves. I knew I was going to get your call in less than a week. I could bust this off for longer, damn it, River. I could practically see her laughing and smirking in glee at this little victory of hers from across town. The fact that Luna assumed I was going to call in such a short time put me in a defensive mood, and although she couldn't see me, I made sure she could hear it in my tone. "I see, and what else have you assumed of me?" She stuttered. "Did I hit a nerve?" "Please, don't get me wrong, Miss Crawford. I am a big fan of your work, and I did a bit of research on you when Miss River contacted me. I knew that you were going to call because you were curious about this and probably more interested in doing research for a future book rather than dating." I was baffled and stunned. This woman really did her homework, and now I felt like I should be apologizing to her. Or perhaps I should play dumb, but I admittedly wasn't very good at the last one. I understand, Luna. I began taking the neutral ground, and I'm impressed by the fact that you take your job seriously. I am interested in this experience for many reasons, and River's personal experience convinced me to at least try out the Lush house. They're vague enough, I think. I heard some shuffling and a drawer being pulled open before Luna spoke again. Wonderful, she started, her voice finally settling. Please tell me when you can visit the house so I can explain everything about how the Lush house works, and so we can narrow down your interests in the opposite sex. I'll be there in an hour if that works for you. Luna, I said without any poison in my voice this time. I really needed to learn how to control my temper, or at least give people the benefit of the doubt. It's just that doing so hadn't worked out so well for me last time. In an hour. Her voice faded and I heard a keyboard suffering from the force against the keys. Yes, I can definitely see you in an hour. I'll see you then. Goodbye for now, I said cheerfully before hanging up the phone. I shook my head at myself, feeling like I put that woman through too much already without even knowing her. I saved the very empty file on my computer and turned it off, heading to my closet to find something decent to wear. It was a task that wasn't so easy to achieve, considering most of what I wore were comfortable and soft homestay outfits. I worked from home. What else would I want to wear? Of the 4 racks in my closet, only one held suits, dresses, and fancy clothes to go out. I tried to rush and put together a red pencil skirt with a white blouse that was a gift from Karina, hoping to look somewhat presentable. I matched it with a red purse and black heels, and I was already regretting using it to see the agent instead of one of my future matches. Look at me already thinking about my matches. With my car in the shop, I had to take an Uber, which dropped me off in front of a very fancy building. I was a bit disappointed that the Lush house was only a name and not a real house. For some reason, I figured it would be something like an old town residence or one of those grandstanding manors. I walked inside and stepped into the elevator, still thinking about what I could possibly ask the agent, but I didn't really have much to go off of. When the doors opened, a young man in a suit greeted me with a smile. Good afternoon, Miss Crawford. Please follow me. The fact he knew who I was made me feel rather put on the spot. But I quickly forgot about that as I took a look at my surrounding. The whole floor was covered in black velvet with golden accents, and different types of dark oak furniture and sober paintings were scattered around the room. I was in awe. There was a sense of space, and it was very well used, with good distance between one office and the other. I was absolutely in love with the decoration as well and wanted to move in. The interior design was off the charts, and I needed the number of the person who did it. I struggled to keep up with the man guiding me as I took in the complete atmosphere created for their premises. It held very spacious offices, and there was a lot of privacy between them, with each having a special waiting area with its own privacy screens. Discreet and professional, how you wouldn't be able to guess this was a business that specialized in matchmaking. The man suddenly stopped, and I almost crashed into him. He seemed amused as he looked at me. Miss Crawford, please take a seat. Luna will be with you shortly. I nodded and followed his direction as he turned and headed out of the room. I only sat down for a few seconds when the door in front of me opened and a tall woman walked through. She had a very contagious and honest smile, and I felt comfortable already. Miss Crawford, she began it. My name's Luna, and I honestly think it's a treat to be able to work with you. She held out her hand, and I shook it as I stood to greet her, returning her smile. Maybe this wouldn't be such a bad experience, after all. Chapter 4, question. I took my seat once more as Luna sat in hers. The smile never left her face. So why didn't you say, read through the details of the experience package? I know you were most likely very curious about it. Luna winked. I nodded because she at least knew that curiosity led me to this more than any hope for finding love. Please, I am all ears, I said encouragingly. She leaned back in her expensive leather chair, looking relaxed, calm, and collected. Quiet, very much in contrast to how she sounded on the phone. I was glad. That means I didn't scare her away entirely earlier. The Lush house offers many experiences and many different packages and tickets. Luna continued, beginning her spiel. But you, Miss Crawford, have received the golden ticket, our highest and most expensive program. I'll be honest, I am excited to see what you do with it. I leaned forward slightly in my chair. I still don't know what exactly I can do with it. I pointed out, hoping she'd decut the marketing part and go straight to the information. Truthfully, it didn't matter if I was sold on their methods or not. I was already here, which said something in itself. Of course, Luna exclaimed. She was a bit more tense now, and I instantly felt guilty about it. Going over the basics probably gave her a sense of security, and now ID just ripped that out from under her. She was just doing her job, Aimee don't be salty just because you don't think this'll work. I'll just give you the short version for it, she continued, the tension evident in her voice. Each type of ticket allows the house to make a match with the customer. We have the Oak Experience, which gives you 2 tailored matches. The Silver gives you 3, and then the Gold that starts you out with 4. So depending on the amount of money the person invests, they can meet different kinds of men or women. Is that correct? Yeah, I asked as I took mental notes of the information she fed me. She nodded. Well, first, I asked the customer a couple of questions, which is a standard procedure. Using those questions, I can narrow down the kind of men or women that could match that profile. With that in mind, the house sets a first date and the clients meet. She took off her glasses, which I suspect are only for show. Then she continued. Both need to have common interests. Of course, that's how it works. When you meet, the first day is always at our Lush residence, which is located outside the city. This piqued my interest. Maybe I could see that old town residence or old grandstanding manor I was hoping for. With all the information she gave me, I found myself very intrigued with the amount of detail that was being put toward the experience. The fact that this was going on under the radar for such a long time surprised me. You said that the gold ticket starts you out with 4. I noted, can you elaborate on that? Of course. Luna smiled. With our golden ticket comes the guarantee that we will find you a match. Unfortunately, not everyone is lucky with love, but we're confident that we can find the match for you, even if it takes a bit more effort and time to do so. It also ensures that you have to renew your ticket or buy another if the first few matches don't work out. I see. That was nice to know. As much as I would like for only the Oak Experience to be necessary, my luck with love said otherwise. We can start with your own questions now, if you would like, Luna offered with a knowing smile. My thoughts were flying. I couldn't help it. The whole thing was just so interesting. Okay, I began. I am a normal customer, so I am here to answer questions. Fire away. She grinned. I could tell she was excited about this part. Is there something that you've dreamed of doing for a long time? What is it, and why haven't you done it? I blinked a couple of times, staring at her. The question seemed harmless enough, but somehow it threw me off guard. It was a standard get-to-know-you question, but in this situation, it felt deep. Would you like me to repeat the question for you? Anyway, Luna asked, after a few seconds. No, I said, shaking my head. I heard you the first time. I just need a few seconds to give you a proper answer. I looked at her before taking a deep breath. I guess I would really like to spend some time without worrying about deadlines, about matching expectations, and about making ends meet. To be able to wake up and relax without having tons of other things to do. And if you ask me why I haven't done it yet, the answer you probably already know. Again, too many things to worry about, too many things to do. I wasn't too hurting for money or anything like that. And with the last book I put out, my bank account and retirement funds were starting to look cushy. But again, it'd be nice to not have any of those things hanging over my shoulder. What it boiled down to was financial freedom. I supposed it wasn't that I wanted things to do, but the ability to do them. Luna looked at me, and for once, I was glad she didn't just smile and nod. I understand, she stated. Yeah, a writer else life. She took notes in a notebook that I didn't see her pull up before, writing with a nib pen in hand. I wondered if it was a requirement to have such fancy handwriting for a job like this, or if you needed some fancy and posh quirk to get the job. What is your most treasured memory? Yeah, she asked after a moment of silence. I looked at her for a few seconds as I repeated the question in my head before smiling. This one was easy. My grandmother, I said fondly, lighting up at the memory. She used to make me tell her bedtime stories to sleep. As I chuckled, Luna smiled. Really, isn't that supposed to be the other way around? I realized this many years after she had passed, but I remember how I would visit her and stay at her place to sleep for a few days. She would ask me to invent stories and tell them to her for her to sleep. She probably never needed any, but she was the first person to encourage me to use my imagination and to explore it fully. How old were you? Luna asked, this time just with normal curiosity. I was barely bat or delete back then, and I started writing not long after, I replied. She quickly jotted down what I told her. I am not sure in what order, but as time went on, I discovered that I was becoming more comfortable with her questions. She was about to fire another when her phone rang. She looked confused at first, checking the eye of the caller before sighing and turning down the ringer. Is everything okay? Yeah, I questioned. Luna put her phone face down and huffed. Sorry, she apologized. This client just rejected yet another match, saying we got it all wrong in regards to what he wanted. But I think the problem is he doesn't know exactly what he wants. She shrugged and shook her head. Anyway, next question. What, if anything, is too serious to be joked about? The questions flew by, and I managed to answer them faster, and with real honesty. I didn't notice how quickly the interview went until it was already an hour later, and her next appointment was being announced on her computer. I think today was rather fun, Anais, and it's been such a pleasure getting to know you through these questions. Now, I would like you to follow the instructions on this card. She handed me a little card similar in size to the invitation, and it had some specific instructions in it, along with pretty gold flowers embossed into it. You will be able to find your ID password in it from our website. You will find a link that will allow you to download a phone app that will show you when you have a match and how to proceed with the next steps. I shook her hand and Luna walked me to the door. Outside was the same handsome man who escorted me when I came in, and he led me back to the elevator without questions, just smiling politely. I didn't know how she knew, but River sent me a message as soon as I was out of the building, and I laughed as I called her on my way to a bar that was located near the building. What did you think of Luna? Yeah, she asked. I think she understands me well enough not to approach this as a husband search and more like an interesting experience. We got along well. I could practically hear her smile through the call. She can get excited and carried away at first, but I know you were in good hands. Let me know. If you need help setting up the app, I can stop by later. We set up a time to meet. I decided to avoid the bar completely and instead use it for an Uber pickup. My adventurous side could only take so much in one day, so home it was. The ideas were already starting to fly. The female lead gets her heart broken by her ex-husband, but the alimony money leaves her rich. She finds herself lonely and angry when her friend offers up a suggestion to find someone new and experienced, now that she doesn't have a husband holding her back. Yeah, that was starting to sound good. The Uber pulled up and I got in with an excited bounce to my step. Once I got home, I could start exploring this new dating experience and fill up that blank document that was haunting me. I was ready. Chapter 5. The first map. So you real set, River told me as she showed me the last step on the app. From here, you'll get a message when Luna finds you a match. It can take a few days, so don't stress about it. Easier said than done. I sighed as I took my phone back and put it down on the table. This whole thing has me anxious. She only looked at me and laughed at my suffering. You shouldn't, do worry, Sal. Only a few dates, have fun, and relax. I knew she meant well, and I knew that all I needed to do was to really open my mind to explore this new world and meet new people. But it didn't change the fact that I'd been out of the game for a while, and now it felt like I was playing an entirely new one. I shook that thought off quickly, as I knew I needed much more to go off of before I even dared to do a second date with anyone. Okay, so since we have a few days to wait, let's talk about other things I need the distraction. I smiled tiredly, and River nodded in understanding. How about you tell me what's stopping you from finishing your book? I huffed and lowered my head. Yeah, you had to go there, didn't you? I heard her laugh, and I rolled my eyes. You've been pushing it back for a while and are even plotting out a new story, despite not focusing on this one. It's very unlike you. So, what's happening? A pang from my phone made me furrow my brow as I saw that the sender was from the Lush House app. That's weird. I started Luna must be testing it. River leaned over and her eyes widened. No, and you just got your first match. What? Anyway, my heart started to beat rapidly as I tried to calm myself. Yes, look, River took the phone from me and unlocked it easily since she knew my password. She quickly opened up the app here, saw the notification and the profile of your match. Let's see you read what it said. Personality traits, observer, introvert, passionate, from a wealthy family, was given the family business at a young age and made it more successful. Looking to meet smart women who are passionate about their lives and career. She looked at me and smiled while I was still a bit shocked. I had just seen Luna yesterday and I was already receiving a match. Anything else a picture? Yeah, I asked nervously. You don't see picture, it goes with the philosophy that you're supposed to be interested more into the person's traits and personality. Pawn, more like a blind date. But I think this is a very good start, and I've never met someone as passionate as you about what you do. She did have a point, yet I was still nervous about how fast all of this was going. Do I have to respond now? Can I think about it? Yeah, I asked. With a chuckle, River comfortingly patted my back. Yes, you can take a bit. Try not to make it too long, though. I titled my head slightly. Why? Because I know you, she stated. If you think too much, you ill chicken out. I rolled my eyes, causing her to giggle. She then suddenly took my hand and squeezed it. Go for it. Don't to think. Just do it. I took a deep breath and looked at my app again. I stared at it for a few more seconds, then finally accepted it. An animation played in front of me of a letter that wrapping itself before moving backwards until it was completely gone from the screen. Another ping showed and a notification told me that we had a first date set at the Lush House. A date in that place that is going to be awkward, I expressed, and River just grinned. You went to the corporate offices, but that's not the Lush House. She beamed. The house is located in a secluded area in the outskirts of the city. It's almost like a country club. It has a huge area and plenty of things to do. You like it. Her words gave me a little boost of confidence. Maybe I should listen to her. After all, it seemed to be working so far. drove my new car toward the location Luna sent me, and I paid extra attention to each turn and every sign I saw. My publisher was nice enough to lend me a car while mine was being repaired, and I really didn't too want another car experience that would mark me for life. 3 was not a golden number in this scenario. In meters, your destination will be on the left. The clever mechanical voice spoke. I looked at the big arch made in black stones. There were 2 big gates, and on top a big sign that read, the Lush House Private Club. As I pulled the car in front, there was a guard that walked to my side and held a list in his hand. He was tall and had a serious look, but he didn't seem threatening, just professional. "Good morning, miss. May I see your card?" My card? Yeah, it took me a couple of seconds to realize he was referring to my invitation. Oh yeah. I pulled it out of my purse and showed it to him, thankful that I had the foresight to bring it. He nodded and checked the list quickly before looking back at me. "You can check your phone app and use the QR code generated to get in, just in case you didn't know," he told me, matter-of-factly pointing out the scanner near the gate. "Thank you. I'll be using that from now on," I told him with a smile. He took a step back, and the gate started to open for me. "Just follow the main road, and you'll get to the residence, and an agent will be waiting for you." "Thank you, Zach," I say to him after reading his name tag. He seemed surprised, but gave me a smile as I started driving inside the premises. It was nothing short of gorgeous, and my car basically crept along the path as I tried to take everything in. After managing to become a rather well-known author, I deep into more and more upscale locations, whether by invitation or association, but I hadn't really bothered to indulge in that newfound wealth beyond splurging on takeout and spoiling my friend. This was different in a good way, though. It was extremely picturesque, like straight out of a movie about the wealthy. The gates were only a preview to the gorgeous and stately house that was surrounded by green fields and well-tended gardens. Rose bushes grew at least 6 feet tall and were in full bloom, while neatly trimmed bushes and towering lampposts complemented the building. Beautiful pillars and tall glass windows. Oh, it was like it was a French chateau plopped straight down into the surrounding forest. In the distance, I could see a barn and just make out grazing horses. I finally parked my car and got out, breathing in the fresh air and taking in the scent of roses. Normally, going out and smelling the roses wasn't necessary, but in a place like this, I should probably do it a bit more often. I checked my phone. I had managed to arrive early, so that gave me a bit of time to explore. My match and I were supposed to meet in the lobby before making use of the facilities to do whatever we wanted. Walking inside, I was blown away by the architecture. I researched French chateaux when I was writing a romance story about a couple renovating one in the countryside. Most had to be sympathetic to the building salt's old architecture and history. And this one, obviously. It held that old-world charm with plenty of wood features and beams, but was pleasantly modern, with bright chandelier lights and beautiful art features. Was that a charcoal sketch by Charles Donahue? I loved his early works. There was something enchanting about the way he drew proportions and blended the charcoal, making his pieces stunningly soft. It felt like this place had everything, a no expense to be spared kind of deal. Now I understood that a failed match wouldn't be for a lack of options or conversation starter. The place was so big, the map on the wall was taller than me, and of course in the center, the Lush house outlined in gold. There was a pool on the premises as well as a spa and a gym. From what I saw, there was also a pond further out, which I assumed was for fishing or a nature walk. The options were endless. Cycling, painting a bedroom. And oh look, the kitchens. How nice I liked food. I had a bit of a sweet tooth and a weakness for pastries. There seemed to be chefs on site where you could get food from, along with a private kitchen, which I could only assume was a date option. Though cooking the meal together sounded a bit more intimate than a first or second date. All of this was so much. It was just all so interesting. There were little nuances that I wouldn't have thought about without coming here. The experience was already so informative, and I just started. I really should be focusing on my other book, otherwise Andre was going to come from my head, but why I was struggling where I shouldn't be for some reason. I'd written plenty of scenes like this one before, so I didn't know why it was this story in particular that was making things so hard. I couldn't try to understand why I was suddenly ignoring it, like it would magically finish the work or make it disappear. This wasn't a normal writer's block, it was something entirely different, something No, that's not what was important right now. I had other things to focus on and worry about. I had to deal with that deadline the next time. Andrew called to tear me a new one about putting things off. Right now, I had a date with a mystery man. One who wouldn't be a mystery for too much longer. The doors to the foyer opened, and I quickly turned around to see who it was. I could only assume was my match, since we'd be the only people on the grounds today, barring the staff. He was handsome, startlingly, so I don't know why it was so shocking that he had a head full of golden curls and bright blue eyes, along with a jaw that was sharp and defined. His crisp two-piece suit had me feeling a bit underdressed in my sage green wrap dress and white flats. But no, today wasn't about being nervous or chickening out. It was about going on a date and getting to know someone. I could do this. And I'd rather not have River come to glare me down to get right back in here for giving up before things even began. I don't think I'd survive the indignity of it, especially since she'd be right to push me back into it. I said I would try and... Hi, I smiled as I greeted him. I am Anais Crawford. It's wonderful to meet you. I outstretched my hand for him to shake at my introduction. He relaxed, reaching out and returning the gesture, meeting me with a smile of his own. It's great to meet you, Anais. I am Luke Owens. This part has ended. Thank you for listening. If you would like to continue listening to the next part, please let me know by leaving a comment.